Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us. Of course, always on short notice. For our stream, we have a guest, and she is part owner of Enda Sports Wear. It is Kenya's first running shoe. And our guest is named Navalayo, but she said call her Nava. So thank you very much for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so Nava, tell us a little bit before we get to Enda. We need to get a little background. So tell us about your life just growing up in Kenya, because we would be very interested to know.
I grew up in Kenya like most Kenyan children. I had, I think, one of the best childhood ever. We kind of used to run around everywhere. My dad was he was in the armed forces. My mom is a teacher. So we pretty much grew up in between Nairobi and going back to the village. Nairobi is the capital city. So, and where the village where I come from is called Tarbo. It's just like a few kilometers from Eldoret. Eldoret is like the running town in Kenya where basically most where of the running champions come from. So if you kind of go to Eldoret, you'll see there's a lot of people running. When you're in Kenya, you don't really think of running as the thing. It's just kind of something people do. But once kind of Kenya started making its name in the world and Kenya became known with running, so people know the town more for runners. I studied in Kenya, my primary school, high school, undergraduate, and then I got a scholarship to go for my master's degree, and then after that, pretty much I worked in different places. I mean, I've worked in Kenya, Tanzania, no Uganda. I haven't been to Uganda yet. Ethiopia, basically the East Africa region. I did a little bit of work in the UK and in the US as well, and now I'm running Enda, basically to kind of put Kenya's name out there on the map.
Okay, so did you ever run or compete possibly yourself?
I mean, I like sports, but not necessarily running. Like I'm more into CrossFit than like running. But in primary school, running, like athletics is definitely part of the program. So whether in primary school or high school, it's part of the culture. I would say like every school you have to kind of take part in sports, and every sport definitely there's like cross country running and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, so you got your education. You came up from a good family. Now let's talk about Enda Sportswear.
Yeah.
Whose idea was it to come up with Enda Sportswear?
So Enda was a collaboration of myself and my business partner. He's called Weldon Kennedy. So what happened was that I previously had started a sports academy in Kenya, which was basically bringing kids at an early age. I mean, when you kind of look at, for example, the sports of tennis, or if you're looking at swimming, you realize, especially in the developed countries, that kids start this sports at a very early age, whereas in Kenya, you kind of stumble into it. I remember one of the guys that really inspired me is this guy. He's called Julius Yego. He's the Commonwealth gold holder of the javelin sport. So javelin is like where you kind of go through a spear. And this guy is amazing because he didn't grow up learning javelin. He kind of he went on YouTube, he saw the sport, got inspired, started training. He's called the YouTube man because he kind of learned most of it from YouTube. And I was like, imagine if that guy could teach himself at that age. Like he's already grown up teaching himself and getting a gold medal. How about if kids can start learning sports from an early age? So my idea was basically, how do we bring kids into sports when they're really early so that they can start like being like really perfect and competing at a very high level? And I was pitching this idea at a business accelerator in Nairobi. And after the accelerator, I remember my presentation was basically the background picture of it was basically Kenya's greatness in sports, and I had different pictures of Kenyan runners crossing the finish line, and at that point. Weldon, my business partner, was part of the crowd who basically had kind of come in to listen and to see there was like a mix of different people in the room. And we kind of got talking afterwards, and it's like, it's so amazing the power of sports, what it can do, especially in development. How come it hasn't been harnessed for Kenya? And I was like, I totally agree, like I totally get what you mean. So, we were just talking, and I was like, how come like Kenya hasn't really made a running shoe despite its reputation in running? And I was like, yeah, that's true. Like, we really haven't done that. I mean, if you look at all the global brands, they're kind of not based in Africa, or they're all making their shoes in China. What has Kenya really done to kind of benefit from this? So as we were talking, we're like, you know what? Why don't we make some shoes? And I was like, yeah, it's a good idea, but what's the capacity? Do you know how to make shoes? And he was like, no, I don't know how to make shoes. And I'm like, well, neither do I. And we were like, okay, but it seems like a good idea. So we were like, okay, this sounds like an interesting idea. Let's sleep over it because we've just met. And if we still think next week that this is a viable idea, let's go for it. And I remember we met a week after that. We met in Nairobi, and we were like, basically just to kind of get to know him. At the end of the day, your business partner is basically like the person you go into business with, and you have to really get to know them before you decide to get into business with them. And coincidentally, when we kind of met and we explored the idea of having a Kenyan running shoe, all the things were just falling in place in terms of what we want for a brand. I mean, for me, something that's very clear is that I want something that brings the benefit back to Kenya. And Weldon has he has very great experience in like social impact and social change, and we at least agreed on the consensus that it has to come back to Kenya. And I think for me that was the basis of knowing, okay, then if he's seeing the vision the way I'm seeing it, then this is definitely the guy I'd like to partner with as we go along. So that's how we started it. We didn't have a name for Enda at that particular point, but we kind of brainstormed over a long period of time, and Enda seemed the perfect name, because if you happen to watch sports with a Kenyan, whether it's rugby or running, when it's like really peak and people are running towards the finish line, everybody will be shouting Enda, 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 Enda. And Enda literally means go in Swahili. It's like go, 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 go. So we were like, you know what, that's the name that fits what we want to do. And yeah, pretty much that's how Enda came into being.
Okay, so you say you was at a business mixer, and guys, I'm a talk a little bit, and the screen is going black, but I'm trying to get what you guys are asking for. You want to look at a picture of them, and I'm about to pull that up. So just give me a second, but we'll keep talking.
Sure.
So you say you was at a business mixer, and
business accelerator.
Business accelerator. Okay,
yeah,
you was at a business accelerator.
Pitch their ideas to different people. It's just a mix of different people in the room, and you pitch your business idea, and you never know who's in the room.
Right, and so you say your business partner, he was there, and he heard your idea, because some people asked, the story about that. They say, well, how did she meet him? Because he's not a Kenyan person. Obviously, he's a Caucasian gentleman.
There's many people living in Kenya who are not Kenyans.
Believe it or not, some African American people don't know that. Believe it or not, they don't. But that's a picture of the shoe. I'm showing them a picture of the shoes right now. That's the red shoes, and they have the black shoes, and then they have the green shoes as well.
Yeah, red, green, and black, which are the colors of the Kenya national flag.
Yes, and that is a beautiful flag to have. That is an awesome flag. Marcus Garvey has shared, with us the same colors, and everything here. If you know anything about Marcus Garvey.
Yeah.
But you can check it out at endasportswear.com if you want to actually see the shoes. The shoes are $100 American, right?
Yes.
They're $100 American.
Yes.
No, I wouldn't. No, go to the site and get them, because some people say they want to buy 2 pairs. So right now the shoes are made in China, but you say part of it's made in China and the rest is assembled in Kenya?
No, so we get the parts from China, assembly in Kenya, and then we ship them to the rest of the world. The reason being that it's an industry that hasn't existed in Kenya before. Like, we make basic shoes, but not athletic footwear, which is a whole different kind of game. So in terms of capacity, we looked around. There wasn't really a factory that had the capacity to do it. And the place where we could start was assembly, basically like bringing the uppers and the soles to Kenya and then doing the assembly in Kenya. We actually have some really cool videos of the assembly process on our Facebook page at Enda Sports Wear, so you can see how we made the whole shoe. But the whole idea is to progressively make more of the shoe in Kenya, and I think that's what I really love about this idea, that someone would say, hey, I can make shoelaces, and we're like, yeah, bring them on, let's see. And someone else is like, I can do the uppers, and we go down and see their capacity. So I feel like we are already kind of like I don't know what to call it. Like we are already seeing an ecosystem that's locally surrounding us. Basically, the market is coming up in terms of, as long as we provide a market, then people are motivated to kind of start producing things that meet our shoe. So the whole idea right now, I think we're about 36%, which we are qualified now for made in Kenya status, but the whole idea is to get the shoe 100% made in Kenya.
And I support that 100%. I saw the black shoes, and I was like, oh yeah, I definitely want to get those shoes.
Yeah.
To support. Now the next question I have is, so when someone buy it in the U.S., what is the turnaround time for us here?
Okay.
How long would it usually take?
Okay, so the thing is, we are kind of out of stock on most sizes now. But if you go on our website and you find that your size is available, it's like 1 to 3 days delivery. If not, then we are kind of taking pre-orders for the sizes and color options that we don't have. We're taking pre-orders and we will deliver them in a couple of weeks when we do our second production run.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is you're sold out right now, so that means sales has been good.
Yeah, but we have a handful of sizes. Like I know there's like 1 or 2 items left, but if you cannot go on the store, it'll show you whether something is out of stock or not. But we have very few sizes left, but we are still taking pre-orders so that the people on the pre-order list are basically first in line for when we finish the next production run.
Okay, so when do you think that you'll be able to get some more shoes in? Because when I order mine, I want to make sure I can get them. So when you, and the people listening, because some of them saying they want to buy 2 pairs. You know, people here in the U.S., they buy a lot of sneakers. So and it's a big thing here. You know, some people are serious about sneakers. So when would they be available? Like, 'cause a lot of us wear size 12 in men's. Let's say that size 12, size 11, size 10 in U.S. men's. When would that be available?
First, when we do the production, we have all the sizes of ranges, men's and women. In terms of availability, it's really hard to pin a date because there's so many variants in terms of transportation, etc. But we are looking at late February, early March. That's my estimation.
Okay, late February, early March. And you say you are doing pre-orders?
Yes, we are taking pre-orders currently.
Okay. All right. That's good. I like to hear that. So guys, if you want to put in the order, get you, some running shoes. And I'm gonna order some here in the next week or two. I'm gonna order some. That's a good price, $100. Can't beat that because Nike's trying to sell all these shoes for close to $200.
Yep.
And now let me ask you about the comfort of the shoes. Let's talk about that because I'm big on comfort. How are they?
So they have the shoes are very light, which is because there's different kinds of runs that Kenyan athletes do. So the trainer is basically our debut product, but we're going to launch other products as we go along. But it's a very lightweight shoe. It's like I'd say both pairs would be like half a kilo. I'm trying to convert that into pounds. Sorry, I have to convert that. But it's very lightweight and it has like a fair amount of cushion on it. The whole idea of the shoe is to kind of have a snug fitting and feel like it's part of your foot. So I would say, I've tried it. It's very comfortable. So I would definitely say it's high on comfort. And one thing that I also want to mention is that it's not necessarily like it's a running shoe, but it can also be like a shoe you can wear out and about. Like, as I said, I'm very much into CrossFit, so I use it a lot for CrossFit. And there's Lupita Nyong'o, the actress. She actually wore it to the Afro Punk Festival a few weeks, like a few months ago, actually. So it's both functional, like sporty shoe in terms of athletics and working out. It's a walking shoe in terms of if you kind of just want to go about up and about town. And it's also a fashion statement for the people who really managed to show it off in other areas other than being on the track.
So, will you ever get the shoes in stores here in the U.S.?
I think we're like, that's the whole idea, is to kind of get to that level. Right now, we're kind of taking baby steps. You don't want to bite something that kind of chokes you. So right now we are selling online, and we are exploring different relationships. And I'd say the beauty of a small businesses is we are not really set on how the business will go. We are kind of like taking it one step at a time. If it comes that we end up having a deal and getting into stores, that would be fantastic. If it ends up that it's much better for us to sell online and manage our customer relationship that way. So I would say we are pretty open in terms of how the business will go. But ideally, of course, we want to get into stores as much as we can.
And I saw you originally started with a Kickstarter, correct?
Yes. That was hard, man.
And I read you raised a little over $123,000.
We raised $128,000.
That's awesome. So and I saw that, I like how you guys broke it down, like on the Kickstarter, exactly how much was going to the shoe, how much was going to shipping, how much was going. I like the way you guys broke that down. So he had, at least, I don't know whoever put it together, say about 60,000 is kind of what got it off of the ground.
So one thing we learned, because actually we did the Kickstarter in 2016 and our first production run was in 2017. We had like one whole year, and we are forever grateful to all the people who were patient with us when we were fumbling and finding our way. So it took a long time, and one thing we've learned as a business is that everything takes longer and costs more. So we had this really great plan on how we were going to execute it, and then we had all these challenges along the way. For example, one of our key suppliers, when we were doing the initial consultation, was like, yeah, you can do it, we can do it. And then when we came back, they're like, you guys are a little bit too small for us. We kind of go in the range of the tens of thousands in terms of initial orders. And we were like, you should have told us that before we started. So we had to go from scratch to finding like a supplier, and then having to find the right partner in Kenya who basically had the basic facilities to begin with. We also had initial interest, and by the time of going back, we ended up not really being on the same page. So again, having to find like a local factory that has the capacity to do it. So it took a really long time, and eventually the costs were much more than we had anticipated. But I think the beauty of that whole process is that it showed us, right now when we're doing it the second time, it feels more familiar, and we know the pitfalls and we know what to avoid and what not to do. So the Kickstarter was great in terms of planning, but the reality was very different from what we kind of had.
Now, on the overall design of the shoe, let's talk about the design. Who came up with the initial design of the shoe and also the logo?
So it's literally been like a collaborative process. So the one thing that one of the philosophy of our company is the spirit of Harambe. Harambe, not the gorilla, but the Harambe is Kenya's, with a double E at the end. It's Kenya's national motto, and it means we all pull together. And usually it was very common in the 80s and 90s when there was a challenge in the community. People used to come together to solve the problem. So that's like the philosophy that Enda has adopted as a company. When we were coming out with the logo, we were like, okay, so we have this idea we are thinking of, and kind of put the sketches out on Facebook and did a poll and asked people, what do you think about what our logo should look like? And I have to say, like, we had our initial base supporters, of course, friends and family, but they kind of drew other people in. And we had a lot of feedback from people who are saying, no, that looks too, like, don't be the cliche African country that uses animals or something like that. Or how about something that's more specific to Kenya's culture or Kenyan running? So we had tons of feedback from friends, family, strangers. And through that process, they helped us define. Then we got to a point we said, okay, this is what we're thinking of, and people helped us choose. So it's very much been a collaborative process between us and our followers on social media. And I would say happy with the results.
So can anyone invest into the Enda Sports Wear company?
Yes, we are actually looking for investors. So if there's anyone out there who's kind of thinking, we are very much open to investment. So, like, manufacturing is very capital intensive. And again, like, we started off with Kickstarter, but you kind of have to pull yourself from there and find your way, because at least Kickstarter gave us the initial kickstart. So right now we're looking for investors. And yeah, I mean, so we are basically registered in the US and registered in Kenya as well. So if you're a US investor, basically you have to be an accredited investor. I don't want to go into the details because it's like very, it's a bit technical, but if you kind of search on the SEC website, you kind of see who an accredited investor is that qualifies you to invest in our company. And yeah, looking forward to it.
Okay, so people who would like to invest, you said you must be an accredited investor.
Mm-hmm.
And hold on, one person's asking to see the shoe again. I want to make sure. Big Sap, that's the shoe, brother. If you want to see. So she said you have to be an accredited investor. So what we need to do, 'cause a lot of us talk about investing in different African nations. You have to have that certification with the U.S. to even go to, let's say, Kenya and start investing in different businesses. Is that kind of how it works?
No, not really. I mean, it's just basically the company structure in the sense of how we are structured. Like, we have the mother company in the US, basically for protection of copyright, because the US has really good IP, intellectual property protection laws. So the IP is kind of sitting with the American company. The Kenyan company is doing the manufacturing and basically selling the merchandise to the US company. So yeah, I mean that's really the logic behind it. If you're investing, of course, you kind of want to be investing in the mother company. Yeah.
Okay, so people that want to purchase, you said they're taking pre-orders right now. There'll be some available. I think she said late March, or late February, early March. Right, that's when the new shipments will be going out or being available.
Yeah, but we'll also be putting frequent updates. It might be sooner. It might be sooner than that. So we always kind of keep our followers like up to date on Facebook and Instagram. So that's like the estimate. But if you kind of follow us, you'll get to be seeing the story as we go along.
Okay, so some people saying they would like to help out. Well, if you don't have an accredited investment, I don't know. Some people saying that you have to have a net worth of $1 million to do that. I don't know, but if anything, buy some shoes. That's putting in as well. You can always buy shoes for your family at $100 is not bad, because LeBron James shoes is what, $200, and that's for one pair. You can buy 2 pairs of these shoes for $100. So I mean, that's always just a better deal.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to get into investment, but if there's anyone out there thinking, they can send us an email. We can always kind of have a chat and see how things can work. Email is hello@endarunning.com.
Okay, so you can just go to the website and just send an email?
Yeah, or you can just send it. Yeah, it's the same thing. It will still get to the same inbox. You can just send it directly through the forms on the website, or email hello@endarunning.com. That's Enda is ENDA running.com.
Okay, the one person asked a question. She has a business partner. He is what country is he from?
He's American.
Okay, she has an American business partner, a Caucasian gentleman. They get the parts from China, but it's assembled in Kenya. So they're providing a lot of jobs for Kenyan people. So if you want to know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you do this in China, it'll take you a day. And I still, that's one of the facts that really made me shudder, the fact that we had to take 1 year to get the first production run, whereas the guys in China were like, we could do it in a day, you know. So for us, it's really, really critical. We are taking it back to Kenya and saying, okay, Kenya has done so well in terms of its reputation, but what's the worth of reputation? So, I mean, the thing that I think about, for instance, if you're thinking a German engineer or an Italian designer, their reputation is worth billions. But if you're a Kenyan runner, it's nothing much beyond pride. So what we're doing at Enda is deliberately taking it to Kenya, as hard as it has been, but it's getting better as we go along. But saying, let's create, by us being there, we are allowing 18, 20 people to have a job and to take care of their families. And I think that's an amazing thing when someone has money and they can decide what they want to do with it for their families, as opposed to them not having means of resources. So that's our aim, and I'm happy that we are doing it.
And you know, I'm glad as well, because I would love to see more companies come out of African nations, and also try to partner with, you know, the Black American community as well, because we all are brothers and sisters, and we definitely need to support each other. Nike gets all our money, and Under Armour and all these other companies. If we have an alternative, that would be, you know, great. And then eventually, if your company get big enough, you know, you could do something here in the U.S. and that would be great as well. So, you know, Nava, I definitely thank you for joining us on the show today. Guys, please go to endasportswear.com, check it out, put in your order. I know I will. I see they got all three colors: red, green, and black. That is the best colors in the world to have.
Yes,
and you have anything you want to leave with the audience before we wrap up?
I mean, just thanking them for taking the time to listen to us, and also just saying, like, I think there's like a lot of room in terms of communication and just bridging the gap between, for example, Africa and African American communities. It's funny when you said it, and I was like, I am from Kenya, but I don't really have like many African American friends, and it's not because I don't know them. I mean, it's just there isn't like many places where like I get to get into like their community, or they kind of come get to know our community. Of course, there's the whole aspect of being on different continents, but that shouldn't be the case. I feel like there's really need to collaborate and know about each other. After all, our histories are so interconnected, and yeah, figure out how to kind of navigate the world together.
Well, Nava, let me say something. You know, we want to, and part of my goal is to connect the diaspora together. And if I can do that through my platform, the Black American community, we love all our people. We do worldwide. All we have in this world, that's all we have is us. Now, of course, some of us, you know, some of us in Kenya, some of us here do bad things. Some of us want to not join together. Well, we can't focus on those people. We can only focus on us that want to join together. And that's what's very important for me. And I've interviewed a lot of people from African nations. Just the last person I interviewed was from Senegal.
Oh, wow.
Last week or so. So I'm definitely open to joining with my brothers and sisters in African nations. I'm definitely need to get to a few countries that people has invited me to, and we want to make some relationships there.
Come to Kenya.
yeah. Hey, I want to go everywhere. Like I said, knowing me, I may like it too much, and I want to come back.
I'll take you to run in Iten. Our shoe is actually named the Iten. And the Iten is a little village up in the Rift Valley. Basically, that's where all the world athletes, elite athletes, go there to run. So it's really an amazing place in terms of beauty. It's very breathtaking. It's very high up in the altitude. And yeah, come for a visit.
Yeah. That's why I'm trying to encourage a lot of us here, Black Americans, to get our passports.
Yeah.
Because and let me ask you one question about Kenya. Maybe you know about the immigration and things like that. There are some people that like to travel, but some countries, if they say in the past they made mistakes and they went to jail, right? They just made a mistake and they got out of jail. They working hard. They're not doing what they did in the past, and they were younger.
Yeah.
People still, like Black Americans, visit Kenya if they have something in their past?
I'm actually very surprised by your question because why would they not be allowed in Kenya? Like it doesn't like they don't look at your history in terms of what you've done, and Africa is very different from America. I have to say, like it's extremely different, and in Kenya you kind of just get your passport, you get the visa on arrival, so it's very easy. And even recently, the president made it like you don't need a visa if you're from any African country, so Africans kind of come for free. And if you're coming from the US, it doesn't matter your background. I mean, you're coming to visit, no? So nobody's gonna come in and checking, oh, what did you do? What did you do? No, you just kind of come in and enjoy the beaches, the wildlife. The weather is amazing. So there's no restriction, none at all. And we have a very thriving tourism sector. So there's lots of stuff to see. Other than the animals, there's like hot springs, there's a desert, there's animals, yeah. Pack your bag, get your passport, pack your bags, show up at the Kenya airport, get a visa, and check in, and you'll be amazed at how different it is from what you imagined it to be.
Hey, well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard the invitation, and like I say, we got an invitation last week, from Senegal, and so it's because unfortunately, Nava, in this country, a lot of us has been led to believe that African people in African nations don't like us, or over here in America, or don't want to have us over there. And every time I have someone on,
people think that. I'm curious. This is just me asking. Where would that come from? Like it's absurd to me. So I mean, it's like, Why would you think that?
I believe where it comes from propaganda of racist white people, basically the racist ones. And unfortunately, a lot of Black people in America will believe, someone that's even racist over somebody that's Black. And, sure, they have some African people that have came here and they don't understand us because we went through something totally different than that African immigrant that came in. So, we have been suffering, for almost 500 years, and we had to fight for everything that we have. So even African immigrants that come here, some of them just don't understand the history. So they say, I don't understand why Black Americans don't get the education, or I don't understand why Black Americans don't do this and don't do that. But we didn't grow up like, some people, like maybe even like how you grew up. Our families were broken apart. A lot of our leaders that fought for our community, some of them were killed, jailed, some of them exiled to other countries. I mean, it's been very hard on, Black Americans. So we suffered a lot. So the only reason I say that is because when an immigrant comes in, they don't understand the history and some of our condition and the way it was done. It was just evil. If you really study the history of what happened to us here, it's been extremely evil. You have Africans that came here from African nations and never went back. People from their tribes and their villages gone. And then it was brought to a land. They never spoke the language. Their names were taken away. Like your name is Navalayo. Well, if you were brought here in that time, they would call you Sarah and beat you until you say your name is Sarah. So these are Africans that experienced all this. And, we are the descendants of those Africans. So we just got to try to understand each other a little bit.
Yeah. And I'm glad that we are even having this conversation because I'm getting a glimpse of it and also just understanding. And I think there's definitely more need for communication between people from Africa and African Americans. I think we definitely have some overlaps in terms of history because, I mean, Africa also underwent like a significant period of colonialism. It's not the same because, again, what happened with the slave trade. But I feel like having the two communities apart is kind of denying people the opportunity to discover, I don't know how to describe it, but to kind of discover yourself, discover your roots. And so going back to your question of whether there would be like people, I mean, for me, kind of, I would be like, wow, it's different to think like someone would even be made to believe that. But Africa is very different. It's very I mean, we're not like, we have our problems. We're not like perfect, right? But I always kind of look back on like I don't know how to describe it. Like, it's not perfect, but you kind of need to experience Africa, if I can say that. You need to experience it and realize that there's so much wrong information going on out there. It's not just sickness, disease, poverty, and flies and stuff like that. There's also amazing things going on. There's business, there's entrepreneurship, there's high fashion. There's also just people kind of, like people have hopes and dreams too for themselves, for their kids. Like, there's a lot of similarities. So I think part of what you're doing is important in terms of kind of giving me a platform to reach other people like from who are African American. I think this is super important, both for my knowledge and for their knowledge. And I think the next step is basically, yeah, I would say challenge whoever is kind of thinking, well, I've always wanted to go. I mean, I'm like, come, it's amazing. You'd be surprised. And the best way to kind of bust a myth is to experience it yourself.
Right, because we, like I said, I'm gonna say this once again. We need unification. We need that unify.
Mm-hmm.
We need each other. We really do.
Mm-hmm.
And because, like I said, the Black community here in America, if we had some of the people to even come over here and invest into us from African nations, that would be just great, because a lot of communities here are in need, and they'll just be, trust me, I believe even more people will go back to African nations if they just see, hey, we got the bridge, we got the invitation, the business opportunities, jobs. We don't have to deal with racism. Now the one last question I need to talk about is China. Let's talk about China just for a minute. How, because I done a story out of Kenya, I just reminded of this, of a Chinese restaurant that was discriminating against Kenyans, okay, in Kenya. Is that still going on in Kenya?
I'm laughing because it goes back to our discussion in terms of what happens in Kenya and what's like the reality of what is going on. So I'd have to say first, by law, discrimination is illegal, and I look at it as like individual instances. Because I've been in Kenya, I have to say I discovered racism when I left Africa. There's no racism in Africa. Like, when you leave Africa, it's like, oh, wait a minute, people actually care about color of skin, When you grow up, you never think about that. And there was that incident, I think a couple of, I can't remember when that was, but I really don't have the heads up of the story. But speaking from my experience living in Nairobi and basically growing up in Kenya, I would say that is like it's not like you're gonna go to a Chinese restaurant and people will be discriminating you. That was like a bad apple that was kind of discovered and highlighted, and measures were taken in place to ensure that doesn't happen. So I mean, I don't have the specifics of that story. Forgive me, I can't like go back to it, but I'm just kind of basing on what I know, kind of growing up in Nairobi and kind of going wherever I wanted to go and never having to think of race. I think people like race, for most Africans, my experience is you realize race when you get out of Africa, whether you're in Europe or the US, and then you actually become very melanin aware. But when you're in Africa, nobody really thinks about you black, because you're all black anyway. So nobody thinks about it. It's just gonna go.
You know what you just said it's just amazing to hear. And like when you said, I never experienced racism until I left Africa. Now, there are a lot of African Americans that's listening to this now and is going to listen to it on the replay. And could you imagine not to deal with racism, or don't even know what racism is until you left the country? I mean, we don't even know how that feels, Nava. We don't know. We've grown up in it from our little children all the way up until now. And many of our, brothers and sisters have died due to racism. So it's just amazing to hear that. It really is.
Yeah. So, but that's my experience. I have to kind of say that. But yeah, you don't think about it. It's not there. So it's definitely something I want to pass on, because nobody kind of likes being singled out because of how they look like. So, and it's not like everybody kind of decides which mother or father they're going to have. We are kind of all the same. And I think that's the beauty of travel and meeting people. You discover that it doesn't matter whether you're white, black, Indian, not, we are all the same. We are people who want to feel loved, who want to see their kids grow, who love their families, their brothers and sisters. If you can't appeal, I can't remember which advertisement it was that people go behind a screen and you just see like the skeletons and then they come out and they're like, it doesn't matter, we're all the same inside. So it's the same thing. And I think it's really sad that if people have to grow up being so aware of who they are, how their hair looks like trying to fit in into a specific conformity. But I would say again that it shouldn't be the mindset. After all, you are the owner of your mind. So you tell your mind what to think. The mind tells the heart tells the rest of the body. So it's super important to be knowledgeable about your history, your past, to be knowledgeable about Africa for this instance, and for myself to be knowledgeable about African American communities. And that's the only way you remove prejudice, by knowledge. So that, because then you learn and it's like, you know, it's their ignorance, right? But you inside your soul and yourself, you know you're fine.
All right. Well, that's just beautiful to hear. You know, some people talking about South Africa. South Africa is a totally different situation, so let's not even go there. But
South Africa is very different. Like it's,
it is very different. Trust me, I talked to people out of South Africa, and I just can't believe some of the things that they deal with. I'm saying, hold on, your country is 90% African. Why are you dealing with that? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. You know, in America, we're outnumbered right now. But, you know, I say for them to be dealing with that in their own country, in their own continent where they, you know, grew up and their ancestors grew up, I don't know. You know, hopefully they get that together. But, Nava, thank you for joining us on the show today once again, and sharing the knowledge and also the invitation to come to Kenya. We all definitely focusing on getting those passports and definitely visiting different African nations. So
the passport should be like your, I don't know how to call it. My teacher always used to say you need to have a voter's card and a passport. So you need to have
I agree with that.
Passport. Yeah.
All right, Nava. So
thank you for the opportunity.
All right, thank you.
Okay, bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's see if we could get that off the screen. What is that? Hold on. Let's see if we can open it. So she said that if you have a criminal background, for some reason, if you do, and I asked that question because I know some you know, brothers and sisters who in the past, you know, had some things happen. And they want to travel, but some of them feel I can't travel because I had, you know, this in my past and that in my past. I can't get a passport. But she said at least you can come to Kenya. And this year, yes, I'm, you know, promoting that this year. I need all of you to get your passport. You know, at least have the option to leave if you want to. You know, the thing is, all these things that these people say about us and have hatred for us, but notice they're not encouraging you to get a passport. Think about that. They'll tell you go back to Africa, but not telling you, hey, you know, if you want to go back to Africa, we got some free passports for you. They don't tell you that. They really want to hold you hostage here. Even people that got criminal backgrounds, they made mistakes in the past. They changed their lives around. I know plenty of guys who have become success stories after, you know, they was hustling at one point in time, or they, you know, they was gang member at one time because they just grew up in a bad environment. You know, they didn't have the right structure, no dad around, but they still turn their life around. And they don't talk about those stories of those brothers that do turn their lives around, create businesses, you know, or get good careers, have, you know, nice, beautiful families. There are brothers and sisters that's doing that daily, that's coming out of jail. But they want to restrict them with travel, or, you know, like a friend of mine that I know, you know, he had trouble in his past. He can't go to Canada, but he said certain countries, you know, he has a passport, and certain countries he can go to. So he said, yeah, tell people that. Still get your passport. He said, because you can move around, man. You ain't got to be just stuck here. And you want to, as black people, have your passport. And I say this because if it gets so bad that black people do need to go, okay? If it gets to a point that it needs to be an exodus of black people, have the option already set. Don't wait till it gets so bad and you're trapped. Get your stuff now. Is what, $165, I think, with the post office. Y'all waste more than that on belts, shirts. Y'all waste that on Nike all the time, speaking about shoes. So get your passport. Your passport photos is cheaper to take them like at a Walgreens or CVS or something like that. Have your passport photos already done. Then go up there, get your application and all that. Tell them that you want not only the book, but you want the card as well. Get both. Once you get that, you want to take it a step further and you want to bypass all the extra security, get your global entry pass. That's a separate thing through the TSA, a global entry pass. Pay to get that. That's good for some years. That way you have both. Nobody can really mess with you. You double checked and triple checked with the TSA and customs and all other people that you need to check with. So that's just, what I want to say about that. Just like she said, have your voter registration card, which I believe black people need to have a voter registration card. Your local elections is very important. Don't think it's not. And have your driver's license, because that's important. You need ID, and have your passport as well. That way you can move around and you're not restricted on nowhere in this country or even outside the country. Yes, that's the way the rich do it. Notice the rich people, they always, well, Big Sap, take it back and say, hey, you did it wrong, fix it. That's, it happens. But get your passport. You got to have it, because they don't, if you think about it, they don't promote American citizens. And I say citizens, not just black folks. They don't promote for American citizens to get passports. They don't never promote that on TV. Get your passport, get your passport. They don't do that. All the rich people got their passports. That's why they always talking about they in this country and that country and moving around and enjoying the whole world. They'll lie to you and say, oh yeah, Kenya is a piece of crap and Angola and all these different countries are a piece of crap. They don't want you there, but the Chinese is in there. All these Caucasians are in there, but they try to make sure, like she said, to tell you that it's horrible. And I said this, that I want to do a documentary, and I'm serious about this, about the beauty of Africa. And I want to travel to different African nations to show how, the nice homes, the neighborhoods, how great they're living, and show you where the media, because the media is not going to show you that. They want you to think that all of them is save the children and flies and eating rice and, oh, the white people have to come in and feed the little Africans or give the Africans vaccines. Don't be taking them vaccines. They be lacing them vaccines, with HIV. And that's why, don't even get me started on that, because that's how a lot of that stuff get into African nations. Talking about Ebola and all that. And then people create that stuff and put that there, because ask yourself a question: why the U.S. have patents on certain diseases? And Trump, when it comes to that, Obama has stopped the U.S. from making viruses. Trump changed that recently, but that wasn't on the news. He rescinded that so they could start making their bioweapons again. Get what I'm saying? But my thing is this: whatever they try to do, we always survive. So then they've tried to wipe us out. So get your passport. You say you went to Bahamas and felt like you was at home, Big Sal. Yeah, because you was at home. You was happy. You was very, very happy. And you say this, well, part of them, you say a statue of a white Christ in different, I guess, whatever. I don't know what country you're talking about. I know Ethiopia because Gore Food just sent me a card, actually, because they just celebrated their Christmas last week. You should see the card he sent me. Maybe I'll post that. Their Jesus is black. Mary, black. Joseph, black. Angels, black. Everybody black. And that's the way they celebrate it. They don't have no white Jesus over there. He said, we say, white Jesus, what is that? He said, that's a fiction of, the U.S. and Europe making that false idol. So that's why I say that about, no white Jesus. Anyway, as you say, you just tuned in, we'll catch it on the replay. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and turn in. He said Trump changed anything about, yeah, even if it was a good thing. Yes, he tried to change every single thing. You say they treated you like family and made you some good. Okay, curry fish. Okay. Well, hey, you was the Bahamas, like I said, a lot of your brothers and sisters dropped off over there. You have to think about that. Like Brazil, like I said, we have a heavy population in Brazil. A lot of your brothers and sisters are there, 80 million strong. More of us are in Brazil than here in the Americas. So, well, hey, if you want to go to Ethiopia, I know someone that said that, they got packages where it don't cost that much, where people could put together and travel in a group. So, you have that. You just got to have your passport and all your pertinent information. So anyway, guys, like I said, I'm going to end this stream, catch you on the replay. But if anything else, get your passport, check out the shoes if you like to order some. One thing you guys need to understand about in business, you're in business to grow your business and also make money. And sometime in business, you may have to partner with others to get that done. And that's something I need, because you can't, some of y'all think business is just, y'all have an idea of business with black owned and only deal with black people and hire black people. And that's a great thing if you can accomplish that. But unfortunately, we don't have all the resources. We don't have all the plugs, at least not yet. So you may have to talk to the Chinese in Shanghai. You may have to, and make a deal with them. You may have to, as long as a good businessman, a businesswoman, and you're not being taken advantage of, and you know how to run your business, and they're working for you, you're not working for them, you may have to do that sometime. Now, as of me, I haven't taken that route at all. That's not, what I needed to do. But in the beginning, when I was just being the YouTuber in the bathroom, and then what you see converted to today when it comes to branding and that sort of thing, my first person that worked with me on my branding was a white lady for 6 months to help me understand branding. She did her job, and that was it. Now I was branded, and I took it from there because I didn't have that knowledge when it came to branding. Now I have my current business manager, brother, which you've probably definitely seen him. Some of y'all want to talk about his eyeglasses. But that brother does awesome work. I don't schedule the interviews because some people say interview this, interview that. You need to go to him. I don't schedule the interviews. He's responsible for having Nava on the show and many, many other people come on the show. I don't schedule these interviews. That's why I say that brother's a lifesaver. So, just letting you guys know that you may partner with other people don't mean it's forever. She said that they're trying to get out of China and stop getting goods from them and do everything there. You may have to start off that way dealing with the Chinese and then eventually cut them off. I mean, that's what they do us, these white companies. They use us all kind of ways for endorsement deals. They're using us to make money. They're not just saying, I forget them black folks, I'm only going to deal with whites. Yeah, in their regular life in the CEO, yeah, it's going to be white, but they're going to partner with other people. Like they partnered with LeBron James and gave him that big $100 million endorsement deal when he was 18 and still giving him more money now. Why? Because Nike made billions of dollars off of LeBron James. That's a white company, but they're not stupid. They know they need LeBron to make their money. That's how business works. And unfortunately, a lot of us aren't business minded. It's not our fault because we was taught all our life to survive, not thrive. And so we playing catch up with the rest of the world due to what we have suffered for almost the past 500 years. So, like I said, once again, thank you for, I don't know what are they talking about? Anyway, so guys, like I said, we'll catch you on the next video. I have some videos whenever I get a chance to show you. One just very bothersome. This one dude is a straight up sorry, good for nothing coon, but you'll see what I'm talking about. But see you next time.